In this Diablo 4 video, we're going to be taking a look at the patch notes for patch 1.0.2d. This is the first major balancing update to Diablo 4 that changes some of the builds we've made so far. This isn't a huge surprise. Some of these builds were overtuned, and obviously this game, I was not expecting it to be balanced at launch. I was not expecting them to make changes this quickly, however, so let's get into what those are. First, let's take a look at Barbarian. They've had their challenging shouts been nerfed. The damage reduction gain from the skill has been reduced from 4% to 2%. That's a pretty significant nerf. And there's been a couple aspects that have been nerfed that particularly affect Whirlwind builds. And obviously their unique item, Gore's Devastating Grips, has also been nerfed. So basically, Whirlwind Barb towards endgame has been nerfed significantly. I don't think this should be a huge surprise to anyone given that there are videos out there of level 100 Barbarians just absolutely throttling endgame content, so this should bring them back down to earth a little bit. I don't think Whirlwind Barb is still going to be bad or, completely gutted or anything like that, but it is going to smack it down a little bit. Moving along to the Druid class, first here, Pulverize's lucky hit chance has been reduced from 33 to 25%. The Obsidian Slant Spirit Boon that you use to get extra overpowers with that has had its requirement increased from 10 to 20 kills, so it's about half as effective as it was before. And the shockwave aspect, which made it so that Pulverize sends out a shockwave when you use it, has had its damage reduced. And Crashdown aspect, which increased your critical strike damage against CC'd enemies when you use Earth skills, has also had its damage reduced. So basically, Werebear endgame builds got a bit of a nerf here. I would say it's probably slightly less than what the Whirlwind Barb has got, but the change to Obsidian Slam is a rough one for those builds. It's not all bad news for Druids, though, even though the Calm Before the Storm passive has had its lucky hit chance reduced from 15 to 10%. Lightning Storm has had its damage increased from 32 to 40%. That's a bit of a boost for Lightning Druids. And the Lightning Dancer's aspect has had its flat damage increased. So, an Electric Shock's passive here has had its damage bonus increased as well. So, Lightning Druids are going to get a bit of a boost. We have a Storm Tempest build that's coming out today. So you're going to see this, it doesn't have footage with these changes, but that's just going to make that Storm Tempest build even better. So Werebear Druid's got a bit of a hit, but Lightning Druid's got a bit of a buff. Moving along to Necromancer, getting the nerfs to Necromancer out of the way first. Grim Harvest passive's been reduced. You used to be able to gain 9 essence for consuming a corpse at max rank, now it's 6. And Serration used to provide you a 1.5% critical strike chance for every 10 essence you had when you cast a Bone Spear or used a Bone Skill. So now that's down to about 0.9% at max rank. So basically Bone Skills are going to critically strike less. So basically this is a nerf to any build that uses, Corpse Explosion really, and any build that uses Bone Skills for Necromancer, which is primarily Bone Spear. However, that's where the nerfs end for Necromancer. Bloodlance's damage has been increased. Army of the Dead's had its damage increased and cooldown reduced by 20 seconds. That's significant. Blood Wave has been boosted. Shadow Blight's been buffed. Death's Defense has been hugely buffed here, making it so that at max rate, your minions cannot take more than 30% of their max HP in one swing. That almost guarantees that they cannot be killed very easily. You can probably heal them before they die most of the time, as long as you're using the heal skill. Raised Skeletons have had their damage increased. Golems have been buffed across the board, including regular Blood and Iron Golem. The Paragon board changes. Hulking Monstrosity has been buffed. Cult Leader has had its damage increased. So essentially what we're saying here is that Bone Necromancer and Corpse Explosion Necromancers have been nerfed slightly, but that, damage over time, Shadow Damage Necromancers and Summoning Necromancers have been buffed, making them a bit more viable. Moving along to Rogue, Twisting Blades has been nerfed significantly. The cooldown reduction per enemy hit's been reduced by a significant amount. Advanced Twisting Blades maximum cooldown reduction has been reduced. So Twisting Blade build rogues are going to be a little less effective than they were before. Other than that, Dark Shroud's had its damage reduction per shadow gain from skill ranks reduced by about 50%. The critical strike damage bonus to enemies that you hit with dash has been reduced by 5%. And concussive, the amount of critical chance you gained when you knock down an enemy has been reduced by about 20%. So rogues, that should affect trappers, I think, mostly, that get knocked down by like Poison Trap or something like that. So mostly Trapper and the Twisting Blade builds have been hit. It's not all bad news, though. Rapid Fire has been buffed. This is one that I don't think a lot of people are going to use just because it has no AoE, so that seems to be a bit more potent now. Probably in a mixed melee range build. I don't think you can use Rapid Fire only in a build, but we'll see. Additionally, Caltrops has had its damage increased from 30 to 40%. And finally, we come to Sorcerer. It's had Arc Lash nerfed. The lucky hit chance has been reduced from 30 to 14%. That's a big hit. Glinting Arc Lash cooldown reduced from 0.25 to 0.15 seconds. That's another big nerf. Teleports had its Shimmering Teleport damage reduction go from 5 to 3 seconds. So the duration of that damage reduction has been cut almost in half. And the Aspect of Controls had its bonus damage against crowd-controlled enemies reduced by a small amount. So that's primarily going to affect like Frost Mages. So this is going to affect like our Battle Mage build we just pushed, and also, you know, Frost Mages basically if you're playing that. So that's a bit of a nerfs to Sorc, but not a ton. One miscellaneous change I want to mention is that maximum damage over time taken per damage instance is reduced from 2% to 1% of maximum life for Druid Companions and Necromancer Minions. Again, making Druid Companions and Necromancer Minions more viable, since they will not be able to be killed by these effects as easily. Moving along to the last thing I want to talk about, which is the Paragon system. They basically nerfed most of the glyphs in the Paragon system. This isn't going to affect too many people right out of the gate, just because I don't think too many people are even there yet, but it will affect their builds once they get to endgame. This is primarily going to affect people that made it to 50 already, which you would have to play a lot to get there, but isn't, you know, crazy. But they've gutted some of these glyphs by over 50%, 66% in some cases, which makes me believe that they hardly tested the Paragon system. These are huge changes. I don't think they had any idea how much they would impact players at later levels. This is probably primarily the fact that, you know, the glyphs are not terribly super strong right by themselves, but the fact that they keep scaling, you know, beyond the first level, up and up and up and up. So I just get the sense that they didn't really test how much damage people were going to be able to get out of these, and these have been severely gutted. This is a pretty significant change already, which means there's probably a decent amount of people out there, or, you know, publishing about this, that have hit far enough levels that there's enough data for them to collect that they can say, you know what, we have to cut these down by a bit. So this is quite an interesting patch. I haven't seen this many balancing changes in a game at launch like this heavily since Pillars of Eternity 2. We saw something similar there. That game launched in a terribly unbalanced state. We were able to make some crazy powerful builds in that game. Most of those builds got nerfed within the first couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if we continue to see nerfs here from Blizzard. Doesn't seem like they tested a lot of this stuff. But it's not all bad news. Even though most of the classes got hit, they didn't get hit too badly. It seems to be just a hit to the meta builds, which is fine with me. I'm not a huge meta builds guy anyway. Storm Druid got buffed, so I'm pretty happy about that. Again, we have our Storm Druid build coming out today, so I can't wait to show you guys that. Those things being said, we'll keep you updated on any buffs or, you know, nerfs coming with any future patches. At the speed they're moving, I would expect to see another patch in the next few days that has even more balancing. I don't know if it's going to be as significant on the nerf side. Sometimes when you're balancing, you go a little too heavy, and then you got to bring it back a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some buffs, particularly to the Paragon system. But if you're a Necromancer, you got to be feeling pretty good right now. If you're a Storm Druid, you got to be feeling pretty good. If you're playing Rapid Fire on Rogue, you got to be happy about that. All the other classes, though, or styles of play, probably not as much. So what do you guys think to the buffs and nerfs for the classes so far? Are you happy with the way your build's going? For you out there who've already started playing, how are you enjoying Diablo 4? Let me know in the comments below.